Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan V. Butler, author of A Saga on Home Video, and this is our 7th in a series of special Q&A episodes of From the Star Wars Home Video Library, this time using questions posted underneath Q&A number 6 in the comments on YouTube. As always, I handle these sort of as rounds. I think this will probably be a single episode round as we saw last time, but just so you know, always post questions if you want them for the next round of Q&A videos. Always post your questions in the comments on the most recent of the Q&A videos. For example, I will not be going back in this video to grab questions from, say, Q&A number 5 because I'm grabbing from 6. Next time I will grab from this one. You'll always be able to tell which round of questions we're in when a chunk, if there are several recorded on the same day, are finally over with, because I'll be wearing a different shirt. I'll make sure to do that each time. In fact, the reason I'm wearing this one was because I was actually wearing the same shirt today, oddly enough. So this time, post for Q&A number 8, where you have the Bounty Hunter Boba Fett super garishly bright shirt here. We're going to go through as many questions as I can that were posted in the comments from Q&A number 6, and just kind of roll from there as we have before. Again, if you have questions that are of a non-Star Wars home video nature, be sure to post those under the most recent mini Q&A episode. I think the current one only has maybe one question underneath it, so it's not really time to record another of those yet. It seems like most questions are tending to be Star Wars home video related and going under these. So the first question comes from Vintage VHS Treasures, who asks, I doubt this will ever happen due to production costs and rights issues. But if Disney were to do a 4K/Blu-ray set of all 9 Skywalker Saga films, not counting Rogue One or Solo, that includes the following: the original theatrical versions of the original trilogy, the 1997, 2004, 2011, and 2019 versions of the special editions, the original theatrical version of The Phantom Menace, and the 2001 DVD cut, the 3D/IMAX versions of the films, and every extra from every single release on VHS/DVD/Laserdisc/Blu-ray, how many discs do you think that would be? And how much do you think that the set would be priced depending on the amount of discs included in the set? That's a lot. So, I mean, it just depends. I mean, I would say probably 1 disc per film iteration. That said, I have seen times where, you could use, a 4K disc and maybe have a couple different iterations on it, or sometimes Blu-ray might have a couple different iterations on it if there's no other bonus features or anything like that. So, if we're talking about theatrical, special edition, special edition, special edition, special edition, that's essentially 5 different versions each of the original trilogy films at least. But it also says, the other things like 3D, IMAX, and so on. So let's tack on maybe at least 2 more discs per film. So 7 discs per film, give or take. So 7 times... Well, you wouldn't see that many for the sequel trilogy. So let's say 7 for each original trilogy, 5 for each prequel, and maybe 3 for each sequel trilogy film, give or take, to include some bonus features in there. So that'd be what, 21 plus 15 is 36, plus another 9 would be a 45. So maybe a 45 disc set, 50 disc set, give or take. Price-wise, it's going to depend on the formats involved. Are we talking about 4K only? Are we talking about 4K and Blu-ray? Because that'll add even more copies of it. Are we talking about 3D Blu-ray, which he does mention there? So, I mean, I think we're talking about something that, depending on the number of formats, is probably roughly around 50, roughly around 100, roughly around 150. Depends on how many discs of redundant content you have included, or quasi-redundant, right? Same cut, HD versus 4K, for instance, I would call quasi-redundant. As for price, a massive amount. But honestly, I'm not good at pricing retail releases and whatnot. To some, the retail price of the Skywalker Saga box set in the US was too much. For others, the borderline of, ooh, that was a bit much, was like the Japanese set when converted from yen to dollars. It was quite a bit more. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about price there. Likewise, not so much about value as we've seen in some of these other ones. But I would expect it to cost several $100s if it was something like that. But again, I don't see that type of thing happening, as you mentioned. It's all just kind of a hypothetical. But I would say probably that in and of itself, one set like that would probably cost as much as picking up like all the stuff in 2020 for the Rise of Skywalker, Skywalker Saga releases in the US. Probably quite a bit more. Probably more like getting the US and maybe the UK stuff together, because I remember the pain of, holy crap, that was a lot of money going out the door when that happened in 2020. All right, the next one comes from Samuel Juan Kenobi, who asks, with the 2006 DVD, why was the crawl added from a film print, but they didn't use the whole film from a film print? Do you have any idea why? Honestly, I don't know. It could be they just didn't have a good film print of the whole thing handy. My guess would be, given the fact that those were pretty much just, let's grab what was on the Laserdisc in 1993 and just like slap it onto a release and put it out there. We're not going to do anything anamorphic. We're not going to make it look any nicer. Just literally, here you go, stuff you've already seen before. It was probably a cost-cutting thing. It was probably not them thinking, how do we really give them the original version of A New Hope instead of the one from 93 so we can not have the subtitle? It was probably more like, how can we fix that one part of the film that will be recognizably not from 77, despite other tweaks later, so that we can claim this is a theatrical release of it when it really wasn't. Probably a cost-cutting measure more than anything else, but I don't know that I've ever heard a specific reason why they didn't just do the whole film. That would be my guess, though. Then Getty asks, my question for the next episode, hopefully, are you excited about 4K 80? No. But that's because I don't follow fan edits much or fan restoration stuff very much. Because primarily I don't go download the giant files or find ways to play them on my various devices, TV, whatever. So to me, it's cool to hear about them, but like I haven't made it a point to collect all kinds of different variations of fan restorations. That just isn't something that's in my wheelhouse. It's something where if I were to get them, I'd need somebody to probably download and burn them and provide them to me. And that, I don't want to inconvenience other people to ask people to do that, but also on top of that, you have the issue of, well, the other option is to go try to buy it, but those aren't supposed to be for sale at all, and yet people are bootlegging the heck out of them. Kind of like, I'd love to have a copy of Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, for example, on home video in my collection, but do I really want to provide money to bootleggers to do it just so I can have a bootleg of it in my collection to say it's there? So, it sounds like a cool project, and I've heard very good things about 4K 77, for instance, so it's cool to see that they're going to do that for Empire also, but, do I have a lot of excitement for it? No. In fact, until reading that question, I would bet that I had 90% forgotten there even was such a thing as 4K 80 happening. Then Daniel Muppet Boy asks, what's your favorite version of the special edition released on home media? 1997, 2004, 2011, or 2019. So I'm assuming he's talking about the different cuts here. It depends. My favorite to watch is the 2019 cuts, and that is because that's the newly remastered 4K release, so that they have this really nice picture and sound quality. The color issues from 2004 and 2011 have been fixed. So in that case, that's the one that I watch the most and I'm most interested in going back to watch. In fact, I keep saying that if at any point my wife goes on a trip or something and takes our son and leaves me here by myself, one thing I will do is marathon all the Star Wars films on our 4K TV, because I've barely gotten to watch hardly any of it on our 4K television. It's usually sitting there watching on a device or watching on the computer screen through a Blu-ray player or something, just because usually my son will flip out if he's not monopolizing the TV with something like Nick Jr. or Baby TV or something like that. But if you're talking about like the actual changes to the films, like which do I think was the most beneficial and useful changes to the films, I'm going to say 2004. It had its color issues. I'm really, especially thinking back to sort of Luke's lightsaber color in A New Hope. But I feel like 97 was like, I'm going to do my definitive edition with CG that's going to eventually look pretty dated, but with some stuff that was just like, why did that need to be there? Right? Some odd, questionable choices, but Lucas claiming this is his definitive vision. 2004 took that definitive vision, refined it, made it look a little better, and tried to better connect those films to the prequels, so it felt like more of a cohesive whole. In 2011, a lot of the changes were just freaking stupid. Let's put rocks in front of R2-D2 from this angle, but not from this other one. What? Let's have the inside view of Jabba's palace's gate and the outside view not seem to be of the same size. What? And so on and so on. Then, of course, in 2019, it was really just McClunky and doing recompositing and stuff like that. So I like the fact that 2004 brought it closer together and connected a bit more to the prequel, so it felt more like a cohesive whole. But if you're talking about what I would actually watch the most, it's 2019. But that's because of the crispness, visual quality, audio quality overhaul that they went through for those. Then a question from J.L. Lichter. I hope I'm saying that last name there correctly. J.L. says, do you wish we got a home video digital copy release of Star Wars without the Fox fanfares? So, digital copy without the fanfares. So, it depends on what you're trying to say. We did get a release, of course, in 2015 where everyone except A New Hope had the actual 20th Century Fox fanfare removed. And instead it was the Lucasfilm logo and it had a really bad truncated bit of music playing over it instead. That kind of truncated type thing. I wish it was still possible to download those files legitimately, because it would be nice to have an archival copy of all 6 of the films in that form, because I don't. I have some of them that I downloaded very quickly when it became apparent that they were replacing them on the digital platforms with the 2019 cuts, whether you liked it or not. So in that sense, I would like to have those. But if you're talking about like literally with no fanfares, I'm not quite sure what you would mean. Like no fanfare and no music over the Lucasfilm logo, so that even those, you know, kind of jarring bits of music from the 2015 digital releases weren't there, and it was just like maybe no sound with the Lucasfilm logo. Not really quite sure there. But honestly, I'd like to see a physical release of those at some point, but it's never going to happen, just to be able to have those cuts available. The 2015 cuts essentially don't exist anymore, unless you happen to have downloaded any of them, again, minus A New Hope, at the time. And that's just kind of a shame from an archival perspective here. And then our last question for this Q&A, it's a little bit shorter. These are sort of questions that I can answer a little bit more quickly here, which is nice, so I can get this out a little bit sooner for you guys. The last question here is from George W.T., who asks, would video games that include scenes/trailers for Star Wars movies count as home video? Can't think of any physical examples off the top of my head, but I assume a prequel/Clone Wars era game would have something. As far as I'm concerned, no, that would not count as a home video release. That would be just, a trailer maybe, or cutscenes or whatever for the video game. I would consider that part of video game collecting, not home video collecting. Same thing with, like, there have been folks who have been kind enough to send me stuff over the years, and sometimes folks will send me, like, back when AOL used to have those, like, trial discs, get this CD-ROM, put it in your computer, get a free whatever trial of America Online to go onto the World Wide Web, and so on. And sometimes it had Star Wars, images and stuff on it, and maybe the disc included things like Star Wars trailers or something, or a link to StarWars.com or whatever as part of the package that they provide. To me, those are not Star Wars home video items. They are items that have video, but they're video files for the home. A good example of sort of drawing this distinction for me, I think, is if you remember, we took a look at these, right? How Sideshow Collectibles sometimes had DVDs in these little slim cases to showcase their products, including Star Wars stuff, including this one that was all Star Wars stuff. They also have a sort of companion product line, which is these. Notice they're Boba Fett. Home video, right? No. Looks like it might be, but it's the virtual experience. It's a CD-ROM. Okay, so, to my mind, a CD-ROM with a bunch of video files on it, that is not a home video release. If it was like a VCD, sure, it would count. But this wouldn't count to me as a home video release any more than, say, a data DVD-ROM would. Or, at least to my mind, a video game. To me, those are distinct, different things here. So with that, we will wrap up this Q&A episode. Again, if you want questions answered in Q&A number 8, presumably coming soon if there's enough questions for it, make sure to post your comments below this video in the comments to be able to be used for that one. Don't go back and post them under any previous ones, because again, I won't be going back to those as I go forward. It's always the comments on the newest release that get answered in the upcoming release. And again, if you have something that you would like to ask and just have me answer in the comments instead of in a video, make sure to note that when you post the comment, because otherwise I won't know and I will hold it for a video if it's going to be used at all. All right, with that, thank you very much, and may the Force be with the home video viewers and those with questions about that sort of thing.